For England 1.0 May 13, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. I have a great many people from England and Commonwealth reaching out to us here every day. They realize that something is terribly wrong, that they are being fleeced, senseless and deprived of rights and freedoms. Even though we are being plagued by the same evil, what I call corporate feudalism, it has its own unique flavor and genesis in every country, so it becomes necessary for us to deconstruct each history and the path that led to this common evil. England became a de facto German possession in 1840 when Queen Victoria married Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, and the House of Wettin has ruled it ever since. This comes as a great shock to many in Britain. It has gone on so long that young people literally cannot remember anyone who lived during a time when this circumstance was discussed at the dinner table, but 60 years ago, people still talked about it. In the German communities here in America, it was a cause of special consternation. Here were these fake English kings and queens, actually Germans who owed their allegiance to the Kaiser and then also to Nazi Germany, sitting on the British throne, destroying both countries, and getting away with it? Treason on one hand, and insanity on the other. Victoria's son inherited the title to England but privately ruled as a German prince. This tradition has carried on through 2 world wars that have decimated Germany, because the House of Wettin wanted it that way. This brings us to one of their predictable modes of operation: pretend to be someone else, so that they get blamed for all the evil you do. Pretend to be British when you are actually German, then attack the Germans and blame them for what you are doing to them. Both England and Germany, to say nothing of the rest of the world, have suffered because of this two-handed game of the House playing against itself. They had hoped to get the same kind of game going here, by pitting the municipal government against the territorial government, until we pointed out that both are ultimately controlled by the Pope. Wettin has been draining England dry for about the same time that America has been drained dry using the same enslavement scheme. This seems to have been most recently revived by Talmudic Jews and certain Scottish Templars led by Benjamin Disraeli in Britain and Abraham Lincoln in America. Today the High Priestess is the Queen's cousin, Lady Somerset, and the HQ in the British Isles is Glamis Castle, in Scotland. In order for the people to be truly free, 1. The entire Babylonian slave system of enfranchisement and impersonation has to be broken, 2. The gigantic probate fraud has to be broken, and 3. The death cult religion giving rise to all this has to be eradicated. It is a very tall order, a true spiritual war in which witches and sorcerers who engage in black magic and blood sacrifices, don robes and hoods and stage candlelit parades around effigies of dead babies at Olympic events. For those in England, this gives a clearer view of your own more recent history and the difficulties of what we are engaged in. As has been proven by the landmark court case, Jaw vs. Regina, the present Queen served a total of 3 days as a Christian monarch, before abdicating that position and occupying the chair of the Estates, the throne, of the probate court, and proceeded to have everyone in England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales declared legally dead, in order to control and prey upon the estates of the victims of this con game. The lawful people are declared legally dead, and the further claim is made that they died intestate, without a will, and as wards of the state and Commonwealth, so that the priests can come in under the guise of probate executors acting for the government as the presumed beneficiary, and administer the assets of the abandoned estates. You are considered an asset and chattel property of your own estate. This same thing has been done around the world. Awareness is job 1, and finding ways to fully inform the people and the members of Parliament about this now largely hidden and forgotten enemy within the royal house, and the impact this has had and continues to have on England, Europe, and the rest of the world is difficult to overstress. The idea that a foreign German principality and a foreign religion have controlled the British Isles for 180 years sounds preposterous the first time you hear it, and it is anti-intuitive to think that a German principality would undermine Germany in 2 world wars, until you understand that what we are dealing with is an international parasite, more like a tapeworm than a virus, and a parasite has no true home, no political allegiance. They siphoned everything they could from Germany and England even as they prepared their new nest in America. They began the same process more recently as they prepared to sack America in turn and move to China. It was only the discovery that they siphoned trillions of dollars owed to the Americans and more trillions owed to the Chinese that has made it hot for them. They owe the Americans the entire American national credit, and they owe the Chinese the entire U.S.-China trade deficit. That's not even counting all that the US, which is not to be confused with America, owes everyone else. As we speak, the US is trying hard to get a war going between America, one of their victims, and China, another victim, because they could make money on that, and get two of their major creditors to destroy themselves. How convenient. Bear in mind that these persons have no true home or allegiance to anything but Mammon, their god, which they make with their own hands, little idols made out of various materials and called by different names, US dollars and British pounds and euros. This foreign system sucks the life and value out of its hosts and then moves on to greener pastures, consistently. The entire secret to their wealth is identity theft, credit fraud, never paying their debts and killing off their creditors. Down through recorded history their pattern is always the same, so look at it closely. Their entire historical modus operandi is to 1. Lie about everything, 2. Pretend to be someone or something other than they are in order to offload the blame for their actions. Note the substitution of the US for America, and how people are always blaming the Americans for things the US did. 3. Seize title to property that doesn't belong to them. 4. Use the purloined assets of others as collateral backing their own debts. 5. Impersonate the victim. And 6. When they have exhausted all the purloined credit, that was never based on their assets to begin with, sell off the creditors' assets to third parties. Note their attempts to sell American property as if it were theirs to sell. Then, 7. Kill the creditors, or better still, get two cheated creditors to kill each other. And 8. Move on to a new host country. Start again. Repeat. It isn't until people look for it that they see it, and only at that point can something effective be done about it. As a starting point, when the vampires come to your door, don't invite them in. So there is a start, though not an easy answer and not something that provides much comfort, at first. Before we despair in the face of the vast criminality set before us and run screaming into the bushes, let's think a bit. What, exactly, was the true nature of Queen Victoria's office? Did she actually have any standing or hereditary right to take title to private land in England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales? Links to Anna's articles and resources can be found in the video description box.